With this video, I'd like to start by addressing my experiences with Discovery. The easiest way to do that is to start from the beginning, as this was the start of my impression of Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek. When it was announced that Star Trek was returning, I believe, like all of us, I was excited to have Star Trek return after 12 years. An announcement trailer posted online with a ship leaving an asteroid space dock. The ship looked like a concept painting of the USS Enterprise, pitched for a movie to come out with the franchise called Planet of the Titans. This was honestly promising because after the Kelvin movies and ownership rights of Star Trek, I, like most, were afraid that we would not be returning to the universe we had all grown to love. That optimism quickly changed as a photo during a shooting appeared online of the new design of Cleons eating lunch between takes. At the time, I believe, like most, chose to accept this as Cleons have gone through their own redesign over the years through increased budgets. We saw this in TOS. TOS did not have the budget like they did for their first movie. For example, if you look closely at the Cleon belt, you can clearly see its painted packaging bubble wrap. With all that said, though, I believe the makeup artist strayed too far from the design established in 1979 and was used throughout Star Trek until 2005. I mean, that's 26 years of audiences seeing it one way. Like everyone else, I was happy to have Star Trek return, but remain cautious going forward. So the day came when Discovery premiered. I went over to my friend's house, sat there with anticipation, ready for new Trek. I don't know if it was just a busy week or hindsight, it was the episode, but I fell asleep. So I attempted to try to watch it again later on. After watching it, I was not sure what to make of what I just saw. Um, I still had optimism because in previous Trek history, the first few seasons are rough. So some of them did find their stride until it was the second season. I mean, there were still a few great episodes peppered in throughout, but after all, New Trek was on my TV. But that being said, there was problems from the get-go. The episode starts out with Klingons discussing issues previously addressed in Trek. Klingons have a proud history and are afraid of losing their culture and sense of identity through cultural assimilation by the Federation. This was previously addressed in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, so this was nothing new. Then we were introduced to the show's main character, Michael Burnham, and in hindsight, this is probably the loudest episode you'll hear her speak.
No. Sir, my brother sounds deeply troubled. The Mercantile. Is there a subspace comms array there? Scientific observation place. We do our best work when it's close.
Fight me!
This is the coward's way out. You know I would never hurt you.
Michael is introduced as the daughter of Sarek and the sister of Spock. Never in canon has either said they've had a daughter or sister. This has happened before in Star Trek V with an unknown brother emerging as the antagonist for Spock. I believe this was better accepted then due to it involving the original cast. To do this in Discovery, it feels like another misguided attempt to tell the audience this is the same Star Trek they grew up with. Throughout the season, she becomes the focus of each episode. This is the problem. Star Trek in the past had episodes focused on exploring or extending the audience's understanding of a character, but in Discovery, we only see this happen with a character that when they interact with Michael. I remember that fans were upset that we knew nothing about the bridge crew, even their names, so in season 2, they did a roll call.
Bridge crew, give me a roll call. Lord knows what's waiting for us down there. I want to know who I'm facing it with. Sound off. And skip your ranks, they don't matter. Clockwise from science.
Michael Burnham.
Evan Connolly.
Dan Reese.
Kayla Detmer.
Joanna Worship. Lieutenant Commander Aria.
Ronald Alton Bryce.
Saru. Just Saru.
Anyways, so back to the episode. Michael flies through space to an unknown object to find a Klingon that she will accidentally kill, causing her to float away in space. Then we see a burial of that Klingon's body. This is a huge problem with established canon. Klingons are spiritual people and are more concerned over the person's soul than the body it inhabits.
Is there any special arrangement you would like for the body?
It is only an empty shell now. Please treat it as such.
Michael is now back on the ship and injured, and she tells the crew that they are facing Klingons. Starfleet is trying to figure out the situation as the Klingons send out a signal to the other Klingons to come out and play. At this point, I feel Discovery did do something right. They stood by the principle that Starfleet does not fire first. This is true. Though Michael, after learning the Vulcan hello, he said it, feels as though firing first is the best option. So, in defiance of her captain's orders, she chooses to mutiny and go with her plan.
The crew did mutiny against the captain just prior to the destruction of the Pegasus. Mutiny? On a Federation starship? That's shocking. It's unthinkable.
Well, the Vulcan nerve pinch didn't last very long, and the captain was able to stop Michael before she could get the crew to agree to fire at the Klingons. Then the other Klingons arrive. This would be the end of the episode, and it would lead us into the next. I'll try to go through this pretty fast because the battle was pretty crazy. But at the beginning, we get a little bit more into Michael's background before she's sent to the brig. Then we get some exposition on the Klingons, warning that humans come in peace. Federation backup arrives, and then the space battle ensues. The Federation looks like it's getting its butt kicked. The Shenzhou loses power and is floating towards an asteroid, to only be saved by a tractor beam by the Admiral's ship, who is conveniently running late. At this point, they both agree to a ceasefire between the Klingons and Federation. The Klingons decided to do the honorable thing and talk it out. Haha, just kidding. They continue the battle and ram the Admiral's ship, destroying it. Okay, now the battle is over. With only one Klingon ship that stayed behind to retrieve the dead from space to add to their haul. This continues to go out of character of what we expect of Klingons from previous canon. Before the battle, the argument was that Starfleet does not fire first. This is true. What is not true is that Starfleet or Star Trek does not desecrate a corpse, plant a bomb with it, and attack a ship after the battle had ended. This damages the Klingon ship enough for them to come aboard and plan to recapture Takuma, the Klingon leader. A fight ensues on the ship, and Philippa, the captain, is killed. Michael, understanding the mission was to capture Takuma because she's the one that came up with it in the begin with, out of revenge, switched the phaser from stun to kill and kills Takuma. She then returns to the ship to only abandon it to face a court martial, which she well deserves. So that was our opening to Alex Kurtzman's era of Star Trek. Looking at only the opening of Discovery, it isn't bad if you do not think of it as a Star Trek but another sci-fi show. It's kind of like eating gluten-free food. You know something's wrong with it, but you'll eat it anyways because you desire what you can't have, and that is new old Trek. I will dive deeper into this season as well as others as we go along. Until then.